Before the stones of Jerusalem could even whisper their secrets, one shocking claim already shook the world. What if the very blood of Jesus touched the Ark of the Covenant, hidden beneath the hill of his crucifixion? Imagine it. The holiest object of Israel's worship, sealed in darkness for millennia, suddenly awakened by the sacrifice of the Messiah himself. This is not legend. It is a mystery wrapped in prophecy, a revelation so powerful it could change everything we thought we knew about faith, history, and the end that is drawing near. Why are hidden chambers now being uncovered beneath the Temple Mount after nearly 2,800 years? Why do the skies above Jerusalem blaze with 7 suns, trumpet sounds, and visions of angels? Why are rivers drying, plagues of locusts returning, and nations aligning exactly as Ezekiel and Matthew foretold? Could it be that the ancient warnings are no longer distant words on parchment, but living signs unfolding before our very eyes? In this video, you will discover the breathtaking discoveries archaeologists are risking everything to reveal, the forbidden claims about the Ark of the Covenant and the blood of Christ, the apocalyptic wonders in the heavens, and the geopolitical alliances that could ignite the final conflict. You will see how prophecy converges with history, how stones and skies declare that the time is shorter than we think, and how every sign points to the return of the King. So I ask you, do you believe these revelations are coincidence, or do you see in them the handwriting of God? Comment your thoughts below, because your voice matters in this conversation. And if you feel the urgency of this message, like this video and subscribe, because the truth we are about to uncover may be the final warning before the world is changed forever. Hidden chambers. Beneath Jerusalem. Beneath the stones of Jerusalem, sealed away for nearly 2,800 years, lie chambers that time itself forgot. Imagine stepping into a world untouched by war, unbroken by thieves, preserved like a sacred memory hidden beneath the earth. Within those shadowed rooms, archaeologists uncovered altars still stained with incense, wine basins carrying faint traces of offerings, and loom weights suggesting garments once woven for priests. Standing stones, scarabs, and sacred objects remained as if frozen in eternal prayer. It was as though the very heartbeat of ancient worship had been buried alive, waiting for this exact generation to rediscover it. According to the Book of Kings, Hezekiah had ordered sweeping reforms to abolish such rival shrines and centralize worship at Solomon's temple. But these underground sanctuaries tell a different story. Faith was not erased. It was hidden, carried secretly into the depths of the earth, where priests and believers continued their devotion far from the eyes of kings. Here the prophecy of Luke 19:40 echoes with uncanny clarity. If they keep quiet, the stones will cry out. And now the stones of Jerusalem are crying out again, revealing that faith can never truly be silenced. This discovery has ignited fierce debates. Muslim leaders see any excavation beneath the dome of the rock as a threat. Jewish scholars are divided, some celebrating the find as proof of their heritage, others warning it could spark conflict. Christians around the world point to prophecy, believing that these chambers are not simply history, but signals of the approaching end. The question is unavoidable. Why would such secrets emerge now, after nearly 3 millennia? Could it be that God himself has chosen this generation to witness what had been hidden? If faith could survive underground for centuries, concealed yet unbroken, then what does that say about our own generation's faith? Are we living boldly, or are we burying our devotion in hidden corners of our lives? This is more than archaeology, it is a mirror held up to our hearts. And just as the chambers beneath the Temple Mount have been unsealed, perhaps it is time for us to unseal our faith, bringing it into the light before the world. These stones have begun to speak, and their message is urgent. Prophecy is alive, history is converging, and Jerusalem is once again at the center of the world's attention. The silence of 3,000 years has ended, and the voice of the stones calls us to listen. The Ark of the Covenant and the blood of Christ. Few names stir more controversy than Ron Wyatt, a man whose life was devoted to searching for the Bible's greatest mysteries. His most startling claim was that he found the Ark of the Covenant buried directly beneath Golgotha, the hill where Jesus was crucified. According to his testimony, when Christ gave up his spirit and the earth shook, a great crack opened in the rock. The soldier's spear pierced his side, blood and water flowed, and it ran down into the depths of the earth, dripping directly onto the mercy seat of the ark. Imagine the staggering significance of that moment. The blood of the Lamb falling upon the very throne of atonement, fulfilling in reality what for centuries had only been a symbol. Wyatt even claimed to have taken dried samples of this blood and presented them to a Jerusalem laboratory. The results were unlike any human blood ever studied. Instead of 46 chromosomes, the sample carried only 23. The cells, he testified, were still alive. Skeptics dismissed it as fantasy, but for those who believe, this was the fingerprint of divinity itself. In Wyatt's account, when he attempted to document the ark, 4 angels appeared, forbidding him to show the evidence before its appointed time. They stood as guardians, ensuring that the holy remained in God's hands, to be revealed only when history reached its climax. Inside the ark, as described in the book of Hebrews, lay the golden jar of manna, Aaron's rod that had budded, and the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, the signs of provision, priesthood, and covenant. If Wyatt's claim is true, then the blood of Jesus testifies even now, sealed beneath Jerusalem, waiting for the final trumpet. Whether one accepts his testimony or not, the symbolism is undeniable. In one act, heaven and earth converged. The old covenant of stone met the new covenant of blood. The mercy seat was not merely a relic, but became the very altar of the cross. And here lies the lesson. God orchestrates history in ways beyond human imagination. Just as Israel's wandering in the wilderness found fulfillment in the promised land, and just as the prophets foretold exile and return, so too the sacrifice of Christ found its completion in the hidden chamber below the crucifixion site. Nothing is coincidence. Every sign, every artifact, every story echoes with divine intention. For those who believe, this claim is not about proving a relic. It is about recognizing that redemption was sealed not only in heaven, but in earth's very foundations. For those who doubt, it still raises a haunting question. Why do such stories emerge now, at the threshold of global upheaval, as prophecy converges across nations, skies, and stones? The Ark remains a mystery, hidden and guarded, but its message resounds. God's covenant is unbroken, His mercy is alive, and His promise of return is certain. As the stones beneath Jerusalem cry out and the heavens blaze with signs, the blood beneath the mercy seat whispers of a love stronger than death, a covenant eternal, and a king who is coming soon. Signs in the heavens above Jerusalem, the sky itself has become a stage where prophecy and mystery unfold in blazing signs. Witnesses speak with trembling voices of mornings when 7 suns rose together on the horizon, casting shadows in every direction, flooding the city with a light that felt otherworldly. Scientists called it an optical illusion, a trick of the atmosphere, but the people who stood there knew it was no accident. They saw it as a signal, a moment that echoed the ancient warnings of Jesus in Luke 21:25. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. The heavens thundered not only with light but with sound, long, heavy trumpet blasts rolling across the skies of Zion. The tones were so deep they vibrated in the chest of everyone who heard them, unlike thunder, unlike wind, carrying the unmistakable weight of eternity. For those who remembered Mount Sinai, the connection was undeniable. The same God who spoke to Israel with fire and smoke seemed to be calling again, this time over the very city where his Son had shed his blood. Then came the most haunting vision of all, a radiant face shimmering in the clouds above the old city, eyes burning like fire, features illuminated by a golden glow. Skeptics mocked, calling it pareidolia, the mind searching for patterns in the mist. But for the faithful who stood in tears at the western wall, there was no mistaking it. They believed they had glimpsed the countenance of Christ himself gazing upon Jerusalem. Others saw what they described as an angel, arms outstretched, guarding the rooftops of the city. And here is the lesson. Sometimes heaven breaks through the ordinary to remind us we are not alone. The skies over Jerusalem do not simply declare weather, they declare witness. They speak of urgency, of prophecy, of a love too great to remain silent. When we see the heavens blaze with such wonders, we are invited to look not only outward, but inward. What are the skies over your own life proclaiming? What signs are you ignoring because they are too strange, too unsettling, too miraculous to accept? Prophecy is not just about distant stars, but about hearts awakened here and now. And as the heavens shake, the earth too begins to tremble, reminding us that creation itself is crying out for redemption. Plagues, droughts, and earthquakes. The land of Israel has always carried the weight of prophecy, and in recent years it has groaned like never before. Locusts, after decades of silence, descended in swarms so vast they turned day into twilight. Farmers in the Negev stood helpless as their fields were stripped bare in hours, crops reduced to dust, echoes of Exodus 10, when Pharaoh hardened his heart and God sent locusts upon Egypt. Then came the rivers, ancient streams that had flowed for generations, drying into cracked beds of clay. Fishermen watched in disbelief as once living waters became emptiness, recalling Joel 1:20. The rivers of waters are dried up, and fire hath devoured the pastures. To stand beside a riverbed that once teemed with fish and see only dust is to feel the breath of prophecy pressing against your chest, and the ground itself would not stay silent. Tremors shook the Temple Mount and the Dead Sea, subtle yet terrifying, as if the foundations of Jerusalem were shifting beneath the feet of pilgrims and soldiers alike. Scientists spoke of climate change, geological instability, natural cycles, but the faithful heard another voice, the voice of creation groaning, as Paul wrote in Romans chapter 8:22, awaiting redemption. What is striking is not only each event on its own, but their convergence, plagues, droughts, earthquakes, arriving together in a chorus of warning. Jesus himself declared in Matthew 24:7, "There shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places." We are watching his words unfold like headlines, ancient prophecy wrapped in modern disaster. But hidden in these warnings is a lesson of hope. Just as the plagues of Egypt preceded Israel's deliverance, so too may these modern echoes herald not only judgment, but redemption. Sometimes the land must be shaken to awaken the soul. Sometimes rivers must dry to reveal how thirsty our spirits have become. Sometimes locusts must strip away the surface so that we remember what truly feeds us. For those who see only natural cycles, these are moments of despair. For those who listen with faith, these are reminders that the story of Israel, the story of Jerusalem, is still alive. The earth is crying out not only in pain, but in expectation. And as plagues swarm, as rivers wither, as the ground quakes, the message grows louder. The world is being prepared. Prophecy is alive. The clock is ticking, and just as the skies above blaze with signs, the land beneath our feet is declaring with urgency that the King is near. So we must ask ourselves, are these disasters simply random, or are they divine reminders meant to awaken us before it is too late? Comment your thoughts below, because every voice matters when history and prophecy collide. The Third Temple. Preparations. In the heart of Jerusalem, a quiet but unstoppable movement has been unfolding. For decades, the Temple Institute has poured its energy into preparing every sacred object required for worship in a rebuilt temple. They have forged the golden menorah, reconstructed the table of showbread, crafted silver trumpets, and sewn the garments of the priests with threads of blue, purple, and scarlet. Young Levites are being trained in the rituals that have not been performed for nearly 2,000 years. Every detail matches the ancient Torah commands. Every artifact gleams with the weight of prophecy. And yet, the most critical piece remains: the Temple Mount itself. Today it is crowned by the Dome of the Rock, the third holiest site in Islam, creating a tension that burns like fire between Jews and Muslims. One spark here could ignite a global blaze. Jesus warned in Matthew chapter 24:15 of the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, while Paul in 2 Thessalonians 2:4 spoke of the man of lawlessness setting himself in the temple of God, proclaiming himself divine. For centuries, these words seemed impossible, mere distant warnings. But now, as the instruments of worship stand ready, as the red heifer has been prepared for sacrifice, as the Levites rehearse songs not sung in 2 millennia, the stage is set. This is no longer a dream, but a countdown. The lesson for us is clear. Prophecy is not abstract. It is practical, tangible, moving through history in the hands of men and women who prepare with faith. The question is, are we preparing with equal urgency in our own hearts? Just as the Temple Institute has crafted every vessel in obedience, are we crafting lives ready for the presence of the King? Nations surrounding Israel. While Jerusalem stirs with anticipation, the world beyond gathers like storm clouds on the horizon. Russia, Iran, Turkey, and China have drawn closer together, forging alliances of military power and political ambition. To the world, these are shifts of geopolitics. To those who know Ezekiel 38, they are the shadows of Gog and Magog assembling against Israel. Zechariah called Jerusalem a burdensome stone that all nations would struggle to lift. And now we see it. Every decision Israel makes reverberates across the globe, drawing condemnation, dividing leaders, straining alliances. The threat of a spark on the Temple Mount igniting a world war is no longer an unthinkable nightmare, but a whispered expectation among diplomats and generals. The faithful, however, see more than politics. They see prophecy aligning with precision. The same nations foretold centuries ago are now converging, their interests entangled, their weapons sharpened. And yet, even in this darkness, there is a glimmer of divine purpose. God is not caught by surprise. Every alliance, every treaty, every threat is part of the unseen choreography of history. The lesson is sobering but empowering. What terrifies nations can strengthen the faithful, because we see not chaos but design. And just as Israel stands isolated yet unshaken, so too can we, knowing that the God who defends Jerusalem is the same God who defends us. This gathering of nations is not just a geopolitical storm, it is the overture to a divine symphony, and the conductor is already raising his hand. Prophetic convergence. Look closely, and you will see that these events are not isolated threads, but woven into a single tapestry. The hidden chambers beneath the Temple Mount speak. The Ark of the Covenant whispers. The heavens blaze. The land trembles. The temple instruments stand ready. The nations align. Each sign might be dismissed as coincidence, but together they form a convergence too powerful to ignore. Jesus declared in Matthew 24 that when we see all these things, we are to know the end is near, even at the doors. Doors are thresholds, moments of transition where one world ends and another begins. Jerusalem has always been that threshold, the prophetic clock of God ticking in its stones, its skies, its soil. We are watching not random events, but the unfolding of a divine narrative that has spanned millennia. The urgency is not fear, but invitation. A call to awaken, to prepare, to anchor our lives in faith rather than panic. The lesson of convergence is this. When prophecy and history collide, the only safe place is in the covenant of the Messiah. The stones cry out, the heavens testify, the nations march, and through it all the voice of the King still whispers, "Be ready." So the question presses upon us. Will we be like those in Noah's day, ignoring the ark until the rain fell? Or will we be like the wise virgins, lamps full, hearts ready, watching for the bridegroom? Comment your thoughts, for every perspective matters in this moment of convergence. And let every heart that hears these signs be stirred, healed, and prepared, because the story is racing toward its climax, and the return of the King is nearer than we dare imagine. The night over Jerusalem feels heavy, as if the stars themselves are holding their breath, waiting for a moment that history has whispered about since the beginning of time. The stones of the city cry out with stories buried for nearly 3,000 years, chambers sealed beneath the Temple Mount now revealed, reminding us that faith never died. It was hidden, preserved, waiting for such a time as this. The Ark of the Covenant, the blood of Jesus dripping upon the mercy seat, the heavens splitting open with 7 suns blazing and trumpets echoing through the skies, the rivers drying, the locusts swarming, the earth trembling. All of these are not scattered events, but threads woven into one divine fabric, pulling our eyes toward prophecy's climax. It is no longer just history. It is the living word of God, written across the heavens, the earth, and the human heart. And when the Temple Institute prepares the menorah, the altar, the garments, and trains Levites for service, it is not just ritual, it is countdown. When nations like Russia, Iran, Turkey, and China stand together in an uneasy but powerful alliance, It is not just politics. It is the shadow of Ezekiel's vision. When the land shakes and skies blaze, it is not only weather, it is the Creator calling his children to wake up. We live in the moment of convergence. Every sign, every prophecy, every trembling in the earth and sound in the skies points to the same truth. The King is at the door. But here lies the real question, the one that no scientist, no politician, no historian can answer for you. Are you ready? Are your lamps full like the wise virgins? Or are you asleep, believing tomorrow will always come? Noah built an ark while people mocked him, and the rain still came. The priests carried the ark into the Jordan, and the waters still parted. Jesus hung on the cross. His blood still fell, and the veil still tore in two. The question is not whether prophecy will be fulfilled. The question is whether we will be awake to see it with faith. Think of your own life. How many signs have already passed before your eyes? Moments when your heart stirred but you silenced it. Moments when you felt a pull toward truth but drowned it in noise. Moments when you saw the world shaking but told yourself it was just coincidence. The danger is not in the signs themselves, but in ignoring them. Just as Israel once buried its worship underground but it never disappeared, your soul can bury its faith beneath busyness, distraction, or pain, but it will never be erased. Tonight the stones cry out, and so does your heart. The message is clear. Prophecy is alive, and eternity is pressing closer with every sunrise. I know some of you feel overwhelmed, maybe even afraid. But prophecy was never meant to crush you with fear. It was meant to awaken you with hope. Because every trumpet blast, every shaking, every blazing light is not only a warning, but also a promise. It says, you are not forgotten. History is not spinning out of control. The author of time still holds the pen. That means your story is not finished either. Whatever regret, guilt, or pain you carry, there is redemption. Whatever fear keeps you awake at night, there is peace that surpasses understanding. Whatever shame whispers to you, there is forgiveness written in blood, sealed forever on the mercy seat. And so, in this moment, I want to speak not only to your mind, but to your heart. If you feel the weight of these signs pressing against your soul, don't push it away. Lean into it. Let it break you. Let it heal you. Let it call you home. Because the truth is, the return of the King is not just a prophecy, it is the greatest love story the universe has ever known. A creator who refuses to abandon his creation. A shepherd who still goes after the one lost sheep. A father who still runs to embrace his child. This is not just about Jerusalem. This is about you. And now, I want to ask you, what do you see in these signs? Do you believe they are random, or do you feel the pulse of eternity in them? Comment your thoughts, not just as words on a screen, but as a testimony. Your voice matters, because when one person speaks of faith, another finds courage to believe. Share your perspective, even if it's filled with doubt, even if it's filled with questions. This is the place to wrestle, to seek, to find. If this message has stirred something in your heart, if it has given you even a spark of hope, then let that spark spread. Like this video, not just as a click, but as a way of saying, I hear the signs, and I will not ignore them. Subscribe, not just to follow content, but to walk this journey with us, to remain awake together as watchers on the wall. And if you feel that what you heard tonight has given you strength, light, or healing in a dark time, I invite you. Support this work with a little of your energy. It might be as simple as sharing this video with a friend, leaving a heartfelt comment, or giving a small encouragement so that we can continue to shine this light. Every gesture, no matter how small, is priceless. It tells me I am not alone, and it helps me keep pouring out my heart so that more people can hear the words of life. Thank you with all my heart for every single act of kindness. Never forget, the signs in the heavens, the trembling of the earth, the alliances of nations, the preparation of the temple, the cry of the stones, all of them point to one truth. The King is coming soon. Let that reality fill you not with fear, but with faith, not with despair, but with hope. Because prophecy is not about endings, it is about beginnings. It is about the dawn after the longest night, the return of light after the deepest darkness. Hold on, lift your eyes, strengthen your heart. The story is racing toward its climax, and you are part of it. So tonight, let your heart echo the cry of Jerusalem, let your soul awaken with urgency, and let your voice join the chorus that declares, "The King is coming. Be ready, be awake, be alive, and together let us stand in faith, because the hour is late, the signs are clear, and the glory of the Lord is about to break through the clouds." If this video has touched you, let it live beyond this moment. Comment, share, like, and subscribe. Every action you take is a way of saying, "I believe this matters." And with your support, we will continue to shine light, to speak truth, to sound the alarm, and to spread hope until the day we see the King with our own eyes. Thank you from the depths of my heart. The story does not end in despair. It ends in glory. And that glory is nearer than we think.